There's been a lot of talk, of course, about the eventual vice presidential nominee. You have said you're not asking for the call, and I'm quoting here, but it would be a tremendous honor. You'd be very interested. If you did get that call, what would you bring to the ticket?
Well, I think I'm going to let you experts pontificate about that. I'm not looking. I got the job held by Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry, governor of Virginia. Doesn't get any better than that.
In 2012, one of the top contenders for the job of being Mitt Romney's running mate was Bob McDonnell, governor of Virginia, the state's charismatic and staunchly pro-life governor who made a name for himself nationwide, fighting for mandatory ultrasounds for women seeking abortions, which, as we just mentioned, will likely be struck down as unconstitutional sometime soon. At the time, Bob McDonnell was considered by Republicans to be an engaging speaker, but not too engaging, which was important because nobody wanted a running mate who would upstage the nominee himself. Ultimately, of course, the gig went to Congressman Paul Ryan instead. Governor Bob McDonnell of Virginia did go on, though, to make news of his own. He went on to become the first governor in Virginia history to be convicted of a felony for things he did while in office. Bob McDonnell in 2014 was convicted of 11 felony counts for bribery and extortion, basically a list of felonies that claim a list of felonies associated with him using the power of his office to help a wealthy Virginia businessman in exchange for thousands of dollars in just cash, in loans, in designer clothing, in an engraved Rolex watch, in free luxury vacations, and a famous joyride in a white Ferrari. Once Governor McDonnell and his wife were convicted on those bribery charges in 2014, once they got their prison sentences, Bob McDonnell's vice presidential prospects started to feel like a little wisp of an old dream. But now they're back, right? Because today, Bob McDonnell was saved by the Supreme Court of the United States. Quote, "There is no doubt that this case is distasteful. It may be worse than that. But our concern is not with tawdry tales of Ferraris, Rolexes, and ball gowns. It is instead with the broader legal implications of the government's boundless interpretation of the federal bribery statute." Today, the Supreme Court told federal prosecutors in Virginia that their definition of an official act was basically too broad. Quote, "To qualify as an official act, the public official must make a decision or take an action on that question or matter or agree to do so. Setting up a meeting, talking to another official, or organizing an event without more does not fit that definition of official act." And so basically, the bottom line here is that Bob McDonnell did set up meetings, he did talk to other officials, he did organize events to help this businessman who plied him with cash and swag and vacations and all the rest, including the Ferrari ride. But what the Supreme Court decided today is not that the facts of this matter were wrongly decided or wrongly described. What they decided today is what he did is officially not corruption anymore. The Supreme Court today said basically, that's gross, but everybody does it. It's not officially corruption. So prosecutors now have to decide whether or not to retry Bob McDonnell. And presumably Donald Trump has to decide if Bob McDonnell still looks like vice presidential timber. He is now officially available again. Joining us now is Dahlia Lithwick, senior editor at Slate, and the person best qualified to help us understand this decision today. Dahlia, thank you for being here.
Hi there, Rachel.
Is Bob McDonnell going to get tried again or no?
They're going to have to decide if under this new standard they can nick him for anything. And, I think that's probably going to be a tough thing to do, given that, the court is very clear today. John Roberts says, we're not going to give an opinion on whether under this new standard he's guilty. We have no opinion on that. If you want to go back and try him again under the new standard, have at it. So the court certainly leaves the door open, but it sure doesn't look as though anything that he did, these 5 acts that we talk about, rise to the level of the new level of corruption articulated today.
Well, when I think about recent high-profile public corruption cases, convictions like Rod Blagojevich in Illinois for basically selling off Barack Obama's Senate seat, or Sheldon Silver in the New York legislature, or, Bob Menendez, who's been indicted on corruption charges. They're all sort of for Bob McDonnell type stuff, using the power of your office to favor somebody who gave you a bunch of money or gifts or favors of some kind. Are all of those kinds of convictions now on the bubble?
There was a piece today in the Post that suggested the second happiest person in America was Bob Menendez, because exactly of what you said, which is, you know, it certainly looks as though he's not on the hook either. And it's really important to understand, you know, what the court says today is there's no quo, right? There's lots and lots of quid. Johnny Williams gives stuff, and there's Ferraris, and there's Rolexes, and, you know, living high on the hog. But there's no evidence that McDonnell actually committed these official actions that did anything. And the real question, I think the question you're asking is anyone dumb enough to do a quo that would rise to the level of this kind of illegal quo? It would pretty much be like, here's your bag of money, sir. Selfie, let's take a picture of ourselves. Will you give me the contract? I think that would rise to the level now, but I think you're quite right, Rachel, that most of the public corruption convictions we've seen just don't have someone materially saying, I'm going to give you stuff in exchange for the stuff you're giving me, and let's commit it to writing and take a picture.
Yeah, because in fact, in that example, you would not only have to take the selfie of accepting the bag of money, then when you awarded the contract, you would have to put in writing as like a signing statement with the contract, I am giving this to you because you bribed me.
Right. I want to be clear what's in my head.
Yeah.
What's in my head right now is I'm giving you stuff back that I wouldn't ordinarily give you. And, you know, it goes to this sort of larger question about, you know, post-Citizens United. The court just doesn't see corruption unless there really is the bags of money and the selfies. And it's pretty dispiriting, but I think, you know, if I were to try to be fair to the court, I mean, let's remember this is a unanimous opinion. Yep. This gets the liberals. I think what the court is really afraid of, and we heard this at oral argument, is they're afraid of rogue prosecutors who go out of their way to bring sham charges. And so what they're trying to do is say, and Chief Justice Roberts again is very clear, he says we can still go after public corruption under this new standard, but we just don't want to leave the kind of space that allows people to be you know, tagged for things that are very, very much in his telling what every politician does every day. They give constituents access and attention because that's their job.
The everybody does it defense. Bleh. Dahlia Lithwick, that's my formal analysis. This is why we have to have you on, because I would just make that noise and consider it done. Dahlia Lithwick, senior editor at Slate. Thanks, Dahlia. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead, perhaps the most excited person in the world today, someone whose joy is so infectious, you will like it even if you don't care about what he's so happy about. Stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.